The math just died. 300 feet down, over 180 men are breathing recycled air inside a steel tube longer than a football field. And the instruments keeping them alive have been lying for weeks. USS Triton is charging blind toward Cape Horn at 20 knots. No GPS, no stars. Just dead reckoning that drifts 2 miles off course every single day. The navigator's hands shake as he plots their position through a graveyard of submerged rock that's been splitting hulls for 3 centuries. They cannot surface without compromising the mission. Breaking cover means risking detection, though they would eventually face that choice for an emergency evacuation. But inside, 2 reactors are cooking the air into something thick and metallic. The crew is drowning on dry land. And the boat is hiding a medical crisis that threatens everything. A crew member struck with kidney stones so brutal, he's being dosed with morphine just to function. If his body breaks completely, they'll have no choice but to surface. But Captain Beach knows what the crew doesn't. Locked in his safe are sealed orders that reveal the mission's true nature. The Navy didn't send Triton just to break Magellan's record. According to Beach's own accounts, they sent her to answer a darker question. How long before a sealed crew, breathing their own exhaust, navigating by math that doesn't work, simply comes apart? The trace moves forward, the rocks wait, and the Navy prepared for every contingency, including the possibility that Triton might never surface at all. February 16, 1960. Captain Edward Beach opens the sealed envelope in Triton's wardroom. The orders are precise. Circumnavigate submerged following Magellan's 1519 route. Surface only in emergency. Maintain radio silence. 60 days minimum. No visual navigation. Beach looks at the chart. Magellan's historic route passed through the strait that bears his name, though Triton would navigate around Cape Horn to maintain the depth required for submerged operations. These waters have claimed more ships than any other passage on Earth. The mission is called Operation Sandblast. Beach folds the orders and locks them in his safe. The crew does not yet know they are attempting something no submarine has ever done, and the White House will not announce it until after they surface. At the time of her launch, Triton was the largest submarine ever built, 447 feet long, over 7,000 tons submerged. She carries 2 S4G nuclear reactors that together produce 34,000 shaft horsepower, more than any sub before her. The Navy designed her as a radar picket, a fast scout to escort carrier groups and watch for Soviet bombers over the horizon. But those 2 reactors give her something no other submarine has: the power to stay submerged indefinitely, if her crew and life support systems can keep up. Beach knows the hull is strong enough. The question is whether her crew of approximately 180 men can survive inside it for 83 days without seeing the sun. Beach gathers the crew in the forward torpedo room. He tells them they are about to attempt the first submerged circumnavigation in history. 60 days, 26,723 nautical miles, following Magellan's route from 1519. No surfacing except in emergency. The White House will announce the mission after they complete it. The crew is silent. They understand what Beach is not saying. This is a Cold War demonstration, proof that American nuclear submarines have unlimited range, while the Soviets are still running diesel boats that must surface every few days. According to accounts of the mission, one man asks when they leave. Beach reportedly checks his watch. They already have. Navigator Lieutenant Commander Behrens checks the ship's inertial navigation system, called SINS. It is a box of gyroscopes and accelerometers that measure every turn and acceleration Triton makes, then calculate position without any external reference. No GPS, no stars, just math. The system is accurate, but it drifts. Sensor bias and platform tilt accumulate as position error. The drift rate is roughly 2 nautical miles per day. Over 60 days, that error compounds to more than 100 miles. Barons will have no way to verify his position until they surface. By then, if the math is wrong, they will have already hit the rocks. Reactor officer reports to Beach in the control room. Both S4G plants are online. Coolant temperatures are nominal, but the officer is blunt about the challenge ahead. The mission parameters demanded that both reactors run without port support for the duration of the 60-day circumnavigation. If one reactor scrams, shuts down unexpectedly, Triton would lose half of her propulsion power, potentially complicating the mission's strict submerged requirements. The boat would likely have to surface to diagnose and repair, and surfacing means the mission aborts. Beach acknowledges the report. The reactors functioned as the primary power source, with only limited emergency backup available for such a long-range mission. Neither does the crew. The chief atmospherics technician monitors the electrolysis units. These machines split seawater into hydrogen and oxygen using direct electrical current. According to available records, Triton was equipped with multiple oxygen generation units that together produced approximately 4,800 cubic feet of oxygen every day for 183 crew members. The hydrogen is vented overboard. The oxygen is stored in high-pressure banks and metered into the crew compartments to maintain 21% partial pressure. If one electrolysis unit fails, the remaining units can keep up. If multiple units fail, the crew would face degrading air quality. Though emergency oxygen reserves, including high-pressure flasks and chemical oxygen generators, provide critical backup capability. The technician logs the flow rates and moves to the next gauge. The CO2 scrubbers run continuously in the aft machinery space. Exhaled air from the crew compartments is pumped through tanks of monoethanolamine, called MEA, a liquid that binds carbon dioxide. When the MEA is saturated, it is heated to 200 degrees Fahrenheit, which releases the CO2 into collection tanks. The CO2 is then vented periodically to the sea. The cycle time is 90 minutes per scrubber. If the scrubbers fail, CO2 concentration will rise above 3% within 18 hours. At that level, the crew begins to lose coordination and judgment. At 5%, they lose consciousness. The scrubbers have redundancy, but not much. The navigation team plots the first leg toward the equator. The SINs drift compounds over distance. After 2 months, with no celestial fixes and no GPS, the cumulative position error could exceed 100 miles. Cape Horn is the worst possible place to navigate blind. Subsurface terrain is unmapped below 400 feet. Seamounts and rock pinnacles rise without warning. Currents are chaotic. The Drake Passage has been a graveyard for sailing ships for 3 centuries, and those captains could see the rocks. The Triton will be navigating at 400 feet, with instruments already showing signs of trouble. The navigation team draws the track on the chart and hopes the math holds. The reactor officer briefs Beach again on the dual plant constraint. Both S4G reactors must run for more than 60 days without coolant top-off. Each reactor core heats pressurized water to 550 degrees Fahrenheit. Primary loop transfers heat to the secondary loop. Secondary steam spins the turbines and generators. The electrical load was heavily prioritized toward propulsion, with significant power also required for life support systems and the boat's extensive radar arrays. If one reactor scrams during high-speed operations, maintaining both full propulsion and life support systems simultaneously becomes severely strained. The electrolysis units could shut down. The scrubbers could stop. Depth control could fail. Beach asks how long they have after a scram. The officer says 18 hours, maybe less. Then they surface, or the crew starts dying. Beach inspects the medical locker with Chief Pharmacist Mate Carbolito. Carbolito has morphine, antibiotics, bandages, and basic surgical tools. He is the only medical specialist aboard. There is no surgeon, no x-ray, no direct radio link to shore-based doctors. If a crew member develops appendicitis, a perforated ulcer, or kidney stones, Carbolito will have to diagnose and treat with whatever is in the locker. If the condition requires surgery, the mission would face a critical decision: surface and risk exposure, or attempt an emergency personnel transfer while maintaining submergence. Beach asks what the biggest risk is. Carbolito says infection. Anything that goes septic, and they have no choice. Beach closes the locker. He knows the mission has no margin for a sick sailor. Early March, South Atlantic. According to ship records, Chief Radar Man John R. Poole reports to sickbay with severe abdominal pain. The ship's medical officer, Commander James Stark, examines him. Poole winces. The pain is sharp, radiating from the lower back to the groin. Stark suspects kidney stones. He has no X-ray, no ultrasound, no way to confirm the diagnosis except symptoms. He gives Poole morphine for pain and tells him to drink as much water as he can. Then Stark goes to Beach and tells him they have a problem. If the stone does not pass, if infection sets in, they may have to surface. Beach asks how long. Stark says maybe a week, maybe less. Carbolito transmits a message via encrypted radio to Naval Command. He describes Poole's symptoms: flank pain, hematuria, no fever yet. The message is routed through naval communications, encrypted, decrypted, and delivered to shore-based medical authorities. The reply follows the same path in reverse. Round-trip time is 12 hours. Carbolito waits. Every hour he checks Poole's temperature and urine output. If Poole develops a fever, it means infection. If the stone causes complete obstruction, the kidney will fail. Carbolito has morphine and antibiotics, but no way to remove a stone. He coordinates with Commander Stark, the ship's medical officer, while awaiting authorization from command for a possible rendezvous. The clock runs. The reply arrives. Shore Medical Command recommends hydration, continued morphine for pain, and antispasmodic drugs to relax the ureter and help the stone pass. The medical officer is warned that if the sailor develops fever or signs of infection, he may require immediate evacuation to the surface. Commander James Stark, the ship's doctor, reviews the message carefully. The guidance is clear: wait and monitor, but if infection starts, surface immediately. He shows the message to Beach. Beach asks what the odds are. Stark says most stones pass within a week, but some do not. If this one does not, and infection sets in, the mission is over. Beach orders close monitoring of the sick sailor and tells Stark to report any change in his condition. The mission continues. Beach convenes a meeting in the wardroom with the executive officer, navigator Barons, and the reactor officer. He lays out the situation. Chief Radar Man John Poole is suffering from kidney stones. If his condition deteriorates, if infection or obstruction develops, the mission must surface. That means losing the circumnavigation record. It also means potentially compromising Operation Sandblast. Beach remains acutely aware of the possibility of Soviet surveillance. The mission was classified as a routine shakedown cruise, but if Triton surfaces unexpectedly in the South Atlantic, questions will be asked. The propaganda value of the mission depends on completing it submerged and announcing it on American terms. Beach asks for opinions. No one speaks. The decision is his. Carbolito monitors Hess every 4 hours. Temperature, urine output, pain level on a scale of 1 to 10. Hess says the pain is a 7, sometimes an 8. The morphine takes the edge off but does not stop it. Carbolito checks for fever. 98.6. Normal. He checks urine color. Still blood-tinged, but not dark. Hess asks how long. Carbolito says it depends. Some stones pass in days, others take weeks. Hess nods. He knows what is not being said. If the stone does not pass, if his body fails, the entire mission aborts because of him. Carbolito makes a note in the log and moves to the next check. Each S4G reactor core holds uranium fuel rods. Nuclear fission releases heat. That heat raises the temperature of pressurized water in the primary loop to 550 degrees Fahrenheit without letting it boil. The superheated primary water flows through a heat exchanger. On the other side of that exchanger is the secondary loop, maintained at a significantly lower pressure. The heat from the primary loop boils the secondary water into steam. That steam spins the turbines, which drive the propeller shaft and the electrical generators. The reactors do not burn fuel in the conventional sense. They split atoms. The heat is continuous, controllable, and for practical purposes, unlimited. But the machinery that captures that heat and turns it into motion and electricity is not unlimited. It must run perfectly for 60 days. The turbines generate electricity. That power is split across 3 systems. Propulsion takes 60%, the electric motors that turn the propeller shaft. Life support takes 30%, electrolysis units, CO2 scrubbers, air circulation fans, refrigeration for food storage. Sensors and navigation take the remaining 10%. Sonar, radar, SINs, communications. With both reactors online, there is enough power for all systems plus a small reserve. If one reactor scrams, available power drops below the life support minimum. The electrolysis units would have to shut down to keep propulsion running. Within hours, the oxygen supply would be exhausted, and CO2 would begin to accumulate. There is no way to run life support on half power. Both reactors must stay online. The electrolysis units take seawater and pass direct current through it. The chemical reaction is simple. 2 water molecules split into 2 hydrogen molecules and 1 oxygen molecule. The hydrogen is vented overboard through hull valves or burned in auxiliary burners. The oxygen is compressed into high-pressure storage banks. From there, it is metered into the crew compartments at a controlled rate to maintain 21% partial pressure, the same as sea-level air. Each unit produces roughly 1,200 cubic feet of oxygen per day. 4 units running continuously produce 4,800 cubic feet, enough for 183 men. If 2 units fail, the remaining 2 cannot keep up. The crew will notice within hours. The air will feel thin. Breathing will take effort. By 18 hours, the oxygen level will drop below 15% and unconsciousness will follow. The crew exhales carbon dioxide with every breath. That CO2 is pulled from the air by ventilation fans and pumped into scrubber tanks filled with monoethanolamine, called MEA. MEA is a liquid amine that binds CO2 chemically. When the MEA is saturated, it is pumped into a regenerator and heated to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat breaks the chemical bond and releases the CO2 as a gas. That gas is collected and vented overboard through hull valves. The regenerated MEA is pumped back into the scrubber tanks. The cycle takes 90 minutes. Triton has multiple scrubbers running in rotation so that at least one is always absorbing CO2. If all scrubbers fail, CO2 concentration will reach 3% within 18 hours. At that level, crew judgment degrades. At 5%, unconsciousness begins. At 7%, death follows within minutes. Captain Edward Beach stares at the ship's inertial navigation system. 3 gyroscopes measure angular rate, pitch, roll, and yaw. 3 accelerometers measure linear acceleration, forward, sideways, and vertical. The onboard computer integrates these measurements into velocity, then integrates velocity into position. The system is brilliant. The system is also imperfect. Gyroscope bearings have friction. Accelerometers have bias. Platform alignment drifts as the submarine rolls and pitches. He's known this for 60 days. He's watched the error grow. Early SINs units like this could drift by several miles per day, creating significant navigational uncertainty. Correcting the system while remaining completely undetected is difficult, requiring precise periscope sightings of stars or landmarks. So here's what it means. Beach must navigate Cape Horn with a position that could be off by several miles in any direction. In waters where rocks don't forgive and currents don't negotiate. He's driving with limited visibility, and he knows it. The true cumulative error of the system will only be fully revealed once they can verify their position against a fixed landmark. April 9, 1960. Triton enters Drake Passage. The ship's navigator checks his dead reckoning position. The The SINS readout shows 3 miles cumulative drift since the last surface fix in February, but there is no way to verify it until they surface. The passage ahead is the most dangerous water on Earth. Subsurface currents run at 4 knots, unpredictable in direction. Seamounts rise from the ocean floor without warning. Charts from the 1950s show depth contours, but nothing below 400 feet is surveyed. Triton will navigate at 500 feet, below the thermal layer, to avoid detection. The navigator knows that if his position is wrong by 5 miles, they could be heading straight for rock. He plots the course and gives it to Beach. Beach orders speed reduced to 5 knots. The fathometer pings the ocean floor and returns an echo. 450 feet. Barnes checks the chart. The chart shows 600 feet at this position. Either the chart is wrong, or the SINS position is off by miles. Beach's response to this discrepancy remains unclear from available records, whether he ordered the submarine deeper or shallower, faster or slower. The control room crew is silent. The fathometer pings again. 470 feet. The bottom is rising. Beach orders all stop. Triton drifts forward on momentum, losing speed. The fathometer pings. 460 feet. They are 40 feet above rock. Beach orders back 1/3. The propeller reverses. Triton slows and begins to drift backward. The fathometer pings. 480 feet. The bottom is falling away. They have cleared the seamount. Sonar detects a return dead ahead, range 200 yards. The sonar operator calls it out. Rock Pinnacle. Beach orders 15-degree rudder. The helmsman applies the turn. Triton yaws at 2 degrees per second. The turn is slow. The Pinnacle is close. The sonar operator updates the range. 150 yards. 100 yards. Beach orders full rudder. 30 degrees. Triton heels slightly as the turn tightens. The crew grips handholds. The sonar operator calls 50 yards. Then clear. The Pinnacle passes down the port side. Barons estimates clearance at 50 yards. Beach orders rudder amidships and resumes course. No one speaks. They have been submerged for 53 days, and the rocks are hunting them. Barons stares at the fathometer readings. The sonar contacts. His hands move across the chart, plotting depths, rock positions against the printed contours. The pattern screams one thing. Triton is 4 miles south of where the navigation system says they are. 4 miles. The sonar pings faster now. He can feel the sweat on his palms as the truth sinks in. The map is a lie. He calculates the correction. Known current pushing them west, the drift accumulating with every mile. He assumes 4 knots of current, 2 miles of southward drift. His pencil moves, replotting the course through the Horn Passage. The new track, it keeps Triton in deeper water, away from the seamounts that could rip them open. He brings the updated course to Beach. Beach approves it. Barons writes in the log. SINS drift now estimated at 5 miles cumulative. 5 miles of error. And they have thousands of miles still to go. The uncertainty will only grow. He erases the old track from the chart, draws the new one. One wrong line could kill them all. March 7th, 1960. Triton clears Cape Horn at periscope depth, allowing the crew a glimpse through the scope. Navigator Will Adams logs the passage. No submarine has ever done this. Magellan's fleet lost ships and men searching for the strait that would bear his name in 1520. Clipper ships feared this passage for 3 centuries. Triton crossed it blind, navigating by math and sonar, with instruments that had been operating for 20 days since departure. Adams notes the final SINS correction in the log. Estimated cumulative drift, 5 nautical miles. He looks at the chart. 15,000 miles remain. The Pacific stretches ahead. Beach comes to the chart table. He does not congratulate anyone. He tells Adams to plot the track to the Philippines. The mission is not over. March 5th, 1960. Carbolito takes Hess's temperature. 102 degrees Fahrenheit. Fever. He checks the urine sample. Dark and cloudy. Signs of secondary infection spreading. Carbolito goes to Beach with the verdict. Hess is developing sepsis. If they do not get him to a hospital, the infection will spread to the bloodstream and he will die. Beach asks the question every commander dreads. How long? 24 hours, Carbolito says. Maybe less. They are just 1 day away from Cape Horn, 100 miles off Montevideo, Uruguay. Beach has a choice. Bring the sail above water and save Hess, or stay completely submerged and complete the mission. He makes the call. Beach orders Triton to broach, bringing only the sail above the surface while the hull remains submerged. He radios the heavy cruiser USS Macon and arranges a rendezvous. Triton's conning tower breaks the waterline after 20 days at sea. The USS Macon comes alongside. Hess is transferred on a stretcher. Beach waits. 3 hours for the transfer to complete. Then Triton submerges again, the sail slipping back beneath the waves. It is the only broach of Operation Sandblast. The clock is still ticking. Cape Horn is waiting. May 10, 1960. Triton surfaces off the Delaware coast. 83 days submerged. 26,723 nautical miles. The crew climbs to the bridge and sees the sun for the first time since February. Barons takes a celestial fix with the sextant and compares it to the SIN's position. The error is 6.2 nautical miles. Over 83 days, the navigation system drifted 6 miles total. It is within the predicted range. The math worked. Triton returns to New London. The crew's ordered to remain silent about the mission. The White House will make the announcement. Beach locks the patrol report in his safe and waits. May 11, 1960. President Dwight Eisenhower announces Operation Sandblast at a White House press conference. He frames it as proof that American nuclear submarines have unlimited range and endurance, a counter to Soviet achievements in space. The announcement is carefully timed. According to historical accounts, Soviet intelligence learned of Triton's circumnavigation within days of the announcement. The propaganda window is secured. Eisenhower awards the Presidential Unit Citation to Triton's crew. Beach receives the Legion of Merit. The citation reads that Triton proved nuclear submarines could operate submerged for extended periods without surfacing, validating the concept for future ballistic missile patrols. The mission was not just a record, it was a proof of concept. Beach's patrol report validates the dual reactor design. Both S4G plants ran continuously for 83 days with no scram, no coolant top-off, and no maintenance. The life support systems, electrolysis, and CO2 scrubbers sustained 183 men for the entire voyage with only the one medical surface. The report becomes a key reference for future submarine endurance capabilities. While Triton's mission influenced future endurance standards, the Navy would ultimately move away from the complex dual reactor design. Triton remains the only U.S. nuclear submarine ever built with 2 reactors. Later classes, including the Ohio-class SSBNs commissioned in the 1980s, utilized single high-output reactors, proving more cost-effective and operationally efficient. The Navy reviewed life support margins and medical protocols following the emergency evacuation of Chief John Poole, leading to enhanced redundancy and monitoring systems. SIN's drift rates improve with stellar update capability in the 1970s. The mission proved that nuclear submarines had functionally unlimited range. The only limit was the crew. USS Triton was decommissioned in 1969. The dual S4G reactor configuration was deemed uneconomical for peacetime operations. Refueling and maintaining 2 reactors cost more than the Navy was willing to spend. No subsequent submarine has matched Triton's dual reactor design. No crew has attempted another submerged circumnavigation. The record stands. Captain Edward Beach retired from the Navy, though reportedly not at the rank many expected for the commander of such a historic mission. He wrote a memoir of the voyage called Around the World Submerged. The crew received the Presidential Unit Citation for their achievement. The sailor evacuated for medical reasons during the voyage is reported to have recovered without requiring surgery. Triton proved what the Navy needed to know, that a sealed crew, breathing recycled air, navigating by math, could survive long enough to end the world. Or circumnavigate it.